Hey there, beautiful people. I'm Tracy Rigdon, and this is the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. On this episode, I'm going to be interviewing or having a discussion, as it were, with my good friend, local writer, journalist, extraordinary person, Mr. Shelton Hull. Shelton's writing, his journalism goes back, spans decades in Florida. He's been a cultural critic based out of Jacksonville for decades, a career spanning several decades, specifically, in particular, over 25 years writing for local alternative magazine, Folio Weekly magazine, available online and in print. So we discussed that in this podcast, the onset of even before the pandemic started, there was, ever decreasing popularity of print media, and I've talked about it and written about it many times that print media is not dead. In fact, the new Folio magazine was purchased after it shut down during the pandemic and has come back stronger than ever. As we discussed in this podcast, Folio not only has been, given, a second life, they've done a fantastic job. And as one of their premier writers, Shelton has contributed immensely to not only Folio, but Florida Times Union and other magazines and periodicals throughout the state of Florida. So, without any further ado, let's do it. Well, Shelton, it's been a minute since I've seen you. It's been a while since we've been in the studio, so we're doing remote podcasting now. And we're going into the fourth season here and having a blast with it. And I just wanted to know, how the heck have you been since the studio days?
I've been doing very well. We're all independent contractors out here, and I've kept a nice little range of projects going on, working at the Folio, working at WJCT, doing little things of my own on the side. How have you been?
I've been very well. Secluded out here in the woods for many reasons that you know of, and some of my friends, fans, and followers do too. I've already told them that I was in the pokey for a while, and I'm kind of landlocked out here in the woods, and just taking care of business the best way I know how, keeping the podcast alive. It's actually been refreshing. Got a lot of time on my hands to work around the yard and all that stuff. So going forward, uh, uh, when you say, we all, everybody knows that you've been working in writing and in journalism for a couple of decades, specifically, and you mentioned Folio, specifically Folio, a little over 20 years writing over there. How has that been for you? How has that experience been for you?
Well, it's been great. I started there back in '97, so this July will be 26 years. I've been there doing that. Always working as a freelancer. I think I've gone through probably 8 or 9 different editors over the time, and of course a new publisher, John and Angela Phillips, the attorney and his wife. They purchased Folio Weekly in 2020. When the pandemic happened, papers like Folio, weekly papers, newspapers like ours, our primary source of income is advertising. As you know, with print media, all print media is funded primarily by advertising. Even those that charge a cover price, it's advertising that carries the weight. And for alternative news weeklies, that's a technical term, like Folio, The first one was started back in 1955, the Village Voice. Then I believe was San Francisco, then L.A., then Chicago. But now at this point, at one point, every major metropolitan area had some sort of weekly, generally all left leading type newspaper. In the and most of all these papers, which are not necessarily all owned by the same people, but they're part of a sort of a trade group together. They're all funded by advertising, and we all get our advertising primarily from restaurants, bars, and clubs. And half of our distribution traditionally goes through restaurants, bars, and clubs. Like when you think about something like a Folio or Village Voice or Orlando Weekly or Creative Local Tampa, which I also work for, you're usually not going to pick one up at the newsstand or Barnes and Noble or something
Right.
or the grocery store. You're more likely to pick it up at your coffee shop or the bar. You'll look at it at a restaurant while you're waiting to get your table or whatever. So when the pandemic hit, all the restaurants, bars, and clubs got their knees clipped like right out the box. They didn't even have much advance warning. They all had to pretty much shut down for months in many cases on just a couple of days' notice at best. Some of these bars had literally 1 day, 2 days notice before they closed. So when all those outlets closed up, that killed the advertising for every alternative news weekly around this country. And so the pandemic popped off about mid-March of 2020, and so by the end of April, probably 1/4 of the alternative news weeklies in the country had gone out of business. They either gone bankrupt or ceased productions or gone to an online only model, like a huge wide swath. And by that point, LA Weekly had already stopped doing print a couple of years before that, I believe. Village Voice had done the same. So they were the print media in general was already with its back against the wall before the pandemic began. The pandemic was just like, getting shot when you're already like on the ground, and
Right.
so Folio was one of many papers that went under during that period of time. But then we are also now one of the few that has managed to come back, and I think come back very well. We're not doing weekly right now, which that's a lot of papers are moving away from. We're Folio Weekly, but it's really more like Folio 24/7. There's more of an emphasis on online social media.
Right.
We're to move into podcasting, things like that. We do a monthly paper which comes out middle of the month. Usually, I think it came out this past Wednesday, the new issue, and we have an online issue, on a fully digital issue, which is mocked up just like the print issue, but that comes out online on the first of the month, or the weekend preceding it. And that contains, all of our club listings, concert listings, a lot of the art and music aspect of it. As you know, Entertaining You, run by Will Henley and his family, the Entertaining You, a big part of local culture going back to the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
They went down as well, in part because of the pandemic, in part because Will himself passed away from cancer back in, I believe it was 2019. Not sure if I believe it's 2019. Right. John Phillips and his wife and Boltland Press, the organization they founded, formed to buy the paper. They also bought Entertaining You, and we folded that into Folio's operations. And a big part of that is just, I can't speak for Mr. Phillips, but I know that he spent a shitload of money just getting the archives of the paper, like getting all the old issues, and he's already begun the process of digitizing all the past covers and eventually all the past content from Folio going, because I'm rambling a bit, but Folio's website didn't really start until about 2010. So everything, the stuff after 2010 is some of it's out there, but then all the stuff from 1987 to 2010 was never online at all. And, say me, for example, I started in 97. So from 97 to 2010, that's probably a good 300 articles of mine that were just of mine that were never put out there online. So they're in the process of digitizing that and getting it all together. We've got a great group of people there. We got Teresa Spencer, who's a business manager. Got Rob Nicholson running the advertising and the promotions. We got Amber doing graphic design. She's fantastic. Carmen and Molly and a bunch of other people. Folio's always tried to bring in new sort of young writers, young
Right.
media people, and people stay here for a while and they move on to new things. I can speak for example. I started here when I was 19, and it's fun now at 45. Yeah, sure, 45. God damn. Now I'm kind of. It's fun seeing like new people come along and helping people get like a foot into the business. Because I mean, as you know, there's never been any shortage of material, and whatever
Never.
form media takes, there will always be a need for information, a need for people that can effectively synthesize and correlate and collate this information on behalf of people. Happy to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Thanks,
and
Red
you know,
Bull.
you meant there you go. And you mentioned too, that during that entire segment right there about the move to digital, and the old you were talking about the old website with the earlier, you know, version of Folio,
Yes.
not coming online till 2010, and towards the end there, the website was in dire need of overhauling, really, and the new ownership, the new leadership over there at Folio, not only have they done a spectacular job with the print version, I must say, but they've also seemed to have done some good things to the electronic version, the website. It seems to run a lot smoother, and I know that they are on, like you said, social media quite a bit, and they let people know when new articles have been posted online,
Mm-hmm.
so that, like you say, it's Folio 24/7. Which is good,
That's
and
right.
and that leads me to my next question for you. With the advent of technology, not only for the end product, and the availability of all these tools that they have, you know at their doorstep for social media, and more advanced web design, and the back end and the frameworks and all that stuff. But how has the technology end of it also affected you and your research as a journalist? Uh, I would assume that it's made it a lot of things easier when it comes to doing research for your articles. But how has the technology uh, affected, benefited you, in your journey doing this?
Oh gosh, I mean the how do I put it, the impact has been tremendous. I mean, this is a case in point right here. The fact that we're doing this right now. We were
Mm-hmm.
while we were here preparing to do this using the Riverside platform, which only existed a few years ago. I'm using a laptop I just got from my birthday. I named it Hillary Clinton to make sure no one hacks it. Um, the but I feel like generationally, I was in kind of a really good like sweet spot, especially for someone wanting to make my career in media. I was born in 1978, so like I'm like right. By the time I got started right at the end of like I was like one of the last guys that had to use fax machines. I used to have to go down to the library downtown, go down the basement with my notebook. This is when I'm like 17, 18, 19. I dropped out of college, came down here, came back home, wanted to get into media. That was writing was all I wanted to do. So I'd write in my notebooks all the time. I'd take the bus downtown to the library, go down the basement, get the big heavy IBM Selectric 2, get the green or the orange or sometimes the red electric typewriter,
Yeah.
and I'm typing that shit up. Then I gotta walk. I gotta type it up, and good God, like how these fucking guys dealt with like no spell check, no like autocorrect, no backspace. Like the manual typewriters, I fuck that. I would have been doing something else. I would have been a comedian or whatever. But I would have to take the writing, then walk a few blocks down to Kinko's, fax it in send a facsimile from Kinko's to the folio office out at Phillips Highway. They would take it out, then they would typeset it, lay out each page of the thing by hand with like goddamn like the glue sticks and the X-Acto knives and all that, and then like right. And now I just write columns like while I'm on my phone. I'm just sitting up. I make more money. The best thing about the technology, I make some weeks I make almost as much money like laying in bed than I do like while I'm actually standing up in ambulatory. That's not even counting the OnlyFans. Just being able to use the Google Docs. I got to do trivia in about an hour or so down at Wall Street for Wall Street Trivia every Monday night at 8 p.m. over at Wall Street. I just keep a Google Docs on my phone and I just run through the question. I just keep questions going. I mean, I used to walk around. I used to carry like notebooks in my backpack. I keep an extra notebook and a pen in my pocket for decades and decades. I'm glad that I have the discipline from the pre-social media, pre-internet era to take into this modern technology. Now, I'll tell you one area where it definitely helps out a lot. We're in an election cycle right now. We just had the state elections. The state and national congressional elections back in November. We're coming up on round 2 of the 24th of April. We're coming up about 3 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks on the second round of the local elections here in Jacksonville. And keeping up with that shit is much, much easier with the new technology. I'll give a shout out to our supervisor of elections office. After all the trauma that we had back in the year 2000 with that election, I think that office has run in a fairly centrist, fairly nonpartisan, bipartisan fashion over the past decades in terms of like the access, having the access to information, the way the information is organized. Everybody's pretty much on their P's and Q's as far as reporting and like filing deadlines and all that stuff. So from a media perspective, it's a much more clean and transparent process, which is great because obviously politics is always fundamentally shady. It's like sports. Like, you gotta. I approach politics from the, like Jimmy the Greek. Like we're talking, like we're gambling. Like if we're the same way we'd be talking about the NFL draft, that's the way we talk about elections. We've had these conversations ourselves. Yeah. It's one thing that's fun about being having done it for so long, because I'm still fairly young technically, but I started so young that I can I get to say things like I get to say back in my day, like I worked that phrase into my lexicon. And, I love making references to like the youth of today, and I'll say to like colleagues, the problem with you kids today. Speaking of someone that never had any thought or intention of ever getting anywhere close to 40 years old, like I'm really enjoying it. I turned 50 in about 5 years, and as soon as I'm eligible for my goddamn AARP card, I'm filing for it, and I'm gonna have that thing like have it steamed into my shoulder like in a.
When you turn 50, you're going to start getting mail from AARP. Trust me. I get mail from them. I've been getting mail from them forever and ever. And you'll start getting crank calls about people wanting to sell you funeral plots. I got one the other day. It's time to start thinking about your plot. I'm like, no, it's not. Mm-hmm. but thanks anyway.
Yeah.
We're talking about when the use of technology and all that, and earlier before we started the episode I had mentioned to you, and it's been widely talked about in the public, the general public, the use of AI, and specifically, I'm talking about the Chat GPT application,
Yes.
and its implications. Not only the other AI people using it to generate artwork, but they're also using the chat, you know, bots that are quite impressive. Actually, I was very reluctant to log on to the OpenAI platform and start messing around with it. In fact, it's only been a few weeks that I've even been messing with it, and I know it's been around since the fall of last year. This particular rendition. Hi, Hillary. All hail Hillary.
Go ahead.
Right?
Hail Hillary. Yes.
That's right. That's right. All hail Hillary. Yeah. But I've only started
Mm-hmm.
using it, recently, and it's pretty darned impressive. Where do you see this getting into? As a matter of fact, a local author writer in town, James Hunter. He is also a virtual teaches virtual online classes, uh, uh, high school English and literature. And he had mentioned that some of his students were using the uh, Chat GPT to write some of their papers, and they weren't
Mm-hmm.
they weren't checking them before they turned them in. It still had the GPT prompt at the top of the page, and
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
I know you can use it, but you still got to
Mm-hmm.
check it. So where do you see
Oh,
the
that's right.
future of journal? Where do you see the future of journalism and writing in general? Even people that are writing novels and so forth, with the use of the
Well,
AI bots.
well, I'd say okay with with this type of technology, of course. Us being Florida, man, our minds always drift toward the conspiratorial, and so there obviously the potential negative implications of this technology are obvious, and I think things like say deep fakes, like things faking the voices and the images and the writing styles of various figures, say to manipulate campaigns or elections, especially like October surprise. Like you could say you drop a high quality deep fake the day before an election or the night before an election of somebody saying something or doing something just completely reprehensible in order to sway the election, even if it's fake.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Twain always said, you know, a lie will travel the world before the truth even puts its shoes on, or something like that.
Right.
So things like that. So that kind of fakery, which you know, we're I'll tell you this, like we're lucky that Osama bin Laden was killed before this technology came along, because there's all kinds of stuff that ne'er do wells, interlopers, people would be saboteurs,
Sure.
monkey wrenching, say financial sabotage. For example, when the Twitter, as you may have heard, Twitter's having some controversy the last
Yeah.
few years, the last
Yeah.
few forevers ago. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
someone someone faked. I think it was Merck. They faked the blue check to be verified as like the Twitter account for Merck Pharmaceutical, and they made some kind of tweet about insulin that caused the stock to tank. Well, not to tank, but to lose like a ton of value very rapidly, and it ended up coming back. But just because of this one fake tweet, and the coordination of that, this is something that can be done to a lot of organizations. And then there's the possibility, God forbid, of the AI developing its own consciousness, or
Right.
or whatever, like an Ultron type thing, like a series of coordinating. Like could someone use AI to manufacture a stock market crash with the intent of taking certain stocks so they could buy in low? Like can
Right.
you? I mean, faking it? Can you fake a State of the Union address? But then I think the positive impact of it, and I think the positive far outweigh the negative. Is we're going. I can anticipate AI producing some scientific discoveries. I can see AI technology being used to stop certain diseases at some point. I can see it being, its application for things like space travel and whatnot, and sort of reverse engineering
Mm-hmm.
consciousness. Like, say, uh, for example, you could someone like Shakespeare. Say, what if the family of someone like what for? I'm trying to think of a good example. Like say Noam Chomsky, for example. Noam Chomsky has written so
Oh
much,
yeah.
said so much, is so vastly documented about almost every conceivable subject and every conceivable interpretation of every subject within not just language but within the political economy uh, questions that he speaks to a lot. I could see a situation where now Chomsky is, see, he'll turn 95 this year. We're lucky to still have him here. Uh,
Oh yeah.
he started growing out a beard. He started growing out a beard for the first time at age 90 because he was so stressed out about all this Trump shit. But say now we have a situation where using the AI, I could see Chomsky and his estate doing something where we create like a Chomsky AI that basically allows Chomsky, the spirit of Chomsky, to provide like real time analysis, you know, over time, going forward into the future. I mean, who
Sure.
knows? I mean, 100 years from now, like either of us could be AIs for like our families. I might have like some descendants yet to be born that I'll be like some type of digital, like the voice in Knight Rider or something.
Right. Right. Well, hey, you want to hear what the bot says about you?
Yes, I would love to. I always love hearing what the bots have to say about me, especially the
Shelton
Russian ones.
Hull. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if this one's Russian or Chinese. It says here, Shelton Hull is a prolific writer, journalist, and cultural critic
Yep.
based in Jacksonville, Florida. All true. With
Yes.
a career
Yep.
with a career spanning several decades, Hull has made a name for
Yep.
himself as an expert in various fields, including history, politics, music, and literature. His unique perspective on these subjects has garnered him a loyal following of readers and admirers in Florida and beyond.
That, that's
And
great.
that's all true.
You got to sit. You got to
That's
copy and
all
paste
true.
that and send that to me. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I would never. I mean, there are areas that I would say I have a good amount of knowledge on: jazz, pro wrestling, politics, mass shootings, terrorism, money laundering, uh, modern dance, things like that. But I would never put myself forth as an expert. I would never call myself an expert on anything except maybe wrestling, maybe
Maybe. Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
local music, certain things. But if if the AI, if the chatbot deems me to be an expert, I will put that on my resume. Like the internet, I'll put that according to Chat GPT. I am an expert in history and politics and literature. You know,
There you go. There you go. And
I
you know,
don't care what the police say.
no, 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 no. It's the internet says so. It must be true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, mhm.
Well, and we were
And so
talking
that
also, and I'll send you the copy of this thing. It's really good. And also we were talking, about the art, that people are doing. People are creating artwork with the AI. Same
yeah,
same
great
technology,
stuff too.
basically. It's really good.
Album
And
covers,
some
book
of
covers.
Oh, absolutely. And they're creating NFTs out of this work.
Mhm.
And a lot of the traditional artists have, some original, traditional artists have had some negative comments about that created art, and some have not. Some have said, well, hey,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's another, it's another forum for us to express ourselves. And recently,
Absolutely.
because and this and playing into what we're you being an expert in politics, of course, the Florida politics,
Yes.
recently with the ban on drag queens, Governor Ron DeSantis
Right.
and the wonderful people that follow and voted for him, uh, banning
Yeah.
drag queens in the state of Florida, which is a big mistake. The economic impact of that alone is a problem. But recently, AI generated images of DeSantis and some of his cronies in drag. Did you see those?
Yes. 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 I did. It's
Fabulous.
yes. Yes. It had a. It was like it was like stuff. It was like getting stomach flu looking at those images.
Yeah, it's the fine people over at Republicans, as in RuPaul,
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh
Republicans over
yes.
on Instagram, and they've got some new ones. They just did one of Governor Abbott in Texas, and it is hilarious.
Oh.
Oh, oh,
Mm.
uh,
Well,
uh,
let me
yeah.
let me say first of all about that. One thing that's fun about these days is I'll be writing about something like, especially like say a band will come into town. I'll be researching stuff about them. Hey, what were they here before? And I'll find like something I wrote about them like 10 years ago that I may have not even remembered. So it's fun being able to quote myself in like some of those situations. And we mentioned with the AI a minute ago. Here's another thing to look for in the future. Like, what if people can find a way to fuse their Siri or their Siri or their Alexa with the AI? So you've got like
I'm
a
sure
sort
you
of
can.
like an OR bot system with the voice that talks back to you. Now you can customize things. There's a thing now that you can use your own voice. It gives you like a list of like 50 sentences to read, and then you read these sentences, and then you give it about an hour, and then it creates this thing where it can just read anything to you in your own voice, which is going to be great for schizophrenics, I'm sure. Um, but say you get the Alexa and the Siri, and you fuse it with the AI as your operating system, and then you put it into like one of these like fancy sex robots that you can get now, like, or the sex dolls that are like posable, and you can pay like up to several $1,000s, silicone outside, movable joints, like a giant action figure, flesh like silicone. You can have it custom made. You can send in pictures of whoever you want. They'll custom for like $5,000. They'll build this thing that looks just like whoever you want it to look like, and then you can put it. Then you can make it like basic. Get like some of the McConnell Douglas, the Applied Dynamics, whatever the robots that are doing the flips and shit now. You get like the flipping posing robots. You put that exoskeleton with the sex doll stuff on the outside. Then you add the Siri Alexa. Then you add the Chat GPT. You add the Bluetooth. You know, you put a USB port somewhere wherever you want, depending on your channel,
Somewhere.
and and then eventually those all get networked, and the robots will kill like all the leadership in their sleep, and Hillary can take control like she should have back in 2016. That's where this is all going.
There you go. Now, don't think for a minute. Now, really, don't think for a minute that those tech people haven't already thought about voice activated the Siri and Alexa with the chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think they haven't already thought about it. I'm
Yeah,
sure somebody is in a dark room somewhere
yeah.
with a fluorescent lamp above them working on it.
These Chat GPT people, they're cutting into my money, because people used to pay me to wildly speculate about things. Like, people would ask me like, "Hey, Sheldon, what do you think? How do you think Shakespeare would feel about the WrestleMania?" I'm like, "Oh, forsooth." It goes on all day.
You know what? I'm gonna type that in later and see what comes up. I'm gonna type that in and see what comes up. Hey,
Yeah.
it really is
Another.
fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't gotten into it yet. Another reason I haven't gotten into it yet is because I know it would suck up so much of my time. It become, Like I've already got enough, you know, we're all late night people. I spend a lot of
Oh
like
yeah.
there's enough like crazy shit on YouTube already.
Okay. Now, moving on. We were going to talk we're
Yes.
just going to brush the surface of some of this. Get your political expertise, your opinion on this. Some of the crazy that's
Yes.
going on down in Florida, and there's some controversial stuff for sure. Not just the ban
Yes.
on
Mm-hmm.
drag queens and the 6 week abortion ban, which is for a whole nother
Yeah.
day. Uh,
Yeah.
this feud that Governor DeSantis continues to wage with Disney and the Reedy Creek development. It appears to
Yes.
me that him and his followers haven't really thought this through. I mean, I don't see how they can justify it, knowing how much of an economic impact Disney has on the state of Florida, and not just the park, but their real estate holdings
Mm-hmm.
and the cruise line.
Oh yeah. Well, they certainly. I think they're aware of that, and I don't think they care. I mean, I think that there's something about the. I mean, the whole situation with like the LGBT community, always been uphill struggle for rights and for freedoms and basic dignity.
Certainly,
Um, yeah, always been a lot of bigotry and haters coming down on them. But speaking as a Floridian, especially, and as a registered Republican, and as you noted earlier, an expert in history and politics as well as literature, I
that's right. That's
I
right.
find it very shocking. I feel like that what's happened here in Florida, particularly in relation to this DeSantis stuff, like this is this is beyond the pale. Like this is worse than like Jesse Helms in the 80s. Like this is a particular specific personal loathing of like a certain segment of the community that, and this guy's from Florida. Like there's no even I mean it borders on like Westboro Baptist Church. Like
Yeah.
it's a level of hatred and bigotry that even professional established bigots think is too far. You know? Like we just came out of a Republican administration up in Washington that was so shady that everyone associated with the Bush family tapped out of the Republican Party. They were so bad that Dick Cheney called them extreme. You know? They were so bad that no member of the Bush family attended the 2020 or 2016 Republican conventions, and that was the first time no Bush had been there since 1952. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like a regime so bad that like people would actually say, you know what, I don't want to be Speaker of the House anymore. You know what, I'm going to retire from the Supreme Court instead of dying in the saddle, which is what you're supposed to do. You know, and this DeSantis thing, like it makes no sense. Like I don't see who this is supposed to benefit. I understand he's a conservative and all that, but even a lot of conservatives, a lot of Christian conservatives, don't approve of this. And let's be honest, like the state of Florida is a state that was founded by men that wore stockings in the summertime. You know, we're like
Right.
400, 500 years. We're 400, 500 years too late to be coming down on that. If
Yeah.
if you had a problem with dudes wearing fucking bonnets, get a time machine, go back to the 1700s. That's where you can make an impact.
Right. Right. Right.
Not
Right.
2023. Not 2023. The question is settled in my regard, especially as a resident of. Hey, I love the Riverside. I'm in Riverside, Florida, on the Riverside FM app right now, talking about this, and particularly living here in Five Points. I've always viewed this place, and we all out here viewed it. This is a safe space for the LGBT community.
Yes.
Runaways, people that are in trouble, gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgenders, especially the trans people, given how much violence they've been faced with in just these last few years. But then, of
Right.
course, it goes back to the days of Matthew Shepard, Brandon Tina, people who were like essentially fucking lynched, you know, for for their beliefs. Like
Right.
we should be allowing people to like claim political asylum, based on being LGBT, so they can get out of some of these like crazy despotic regimes that we're in business with over there. I find,
Right.
and we joke about it, and I'm always open to joking about or joking about all this stuff, and there's a bit of gallows humor to it, but it's also very, very ugly and very disturbing. They're bullies, and they're picking on you know people that are already marginalized, people that are already on the defensive, people that are already feeling unsafe and insecure about their place in life. And this guy is like kicking them in the teeth just to like appease a bunch of fucking scumbag bigots, on the national
Right.
level. You know, I mean, all due respect to the governor as a governor. Thank you to him. Thank you for his service as a him being a veteran and all that. But as far as the people that want to hate on the drag queens, I feel like they're all scumbag pieces of shit. And anybody that doesn't like that can they're welcome to come find me. You know, you're welcome. Come treat me the way you want to treat like these drag queens. Push
Right.
me around, see how that
Right.
works for you. We will
Right.
not. We. I mean, in the Pulse nightclub shit was just like not even 5, 6 years ago, something like that.
Right.
We've all been through this. We will. It's not fair. It's my words almost fail me because just the ugliness of it. Like it's a special
Right.
you know, it's a special level of just nasty, disgusting shit. It's
Right.
beyond, it's Al Qaeda level the way I see it. You know,
Right. Right. And a lot of the people that are, we got Clay Yarborough, for instance, with the 6 week abortion ban, him, and we know the trouble he caused
they
with
call him Clay.
artwork. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they call him Clay, but he's really more like Silly Putty. There's nothing robust about him at all.
No, no. He's got the personality of Silly Putty, that's for sure. But
Yeah,
all those people, they're still spewing out this whole narrative that the drag queens, especially the drag queen story hour, that they're somehow indoctrinating children, that children are, when they're there reading a storybook to them, that it's going
yeah.
to make them, it's going to turn them gay or turn them into drag queens later in
Right.
life. And you
Yeah.
know
So,
holy crap, and how many of those people ever volunteered their time to go to the library and read to kids?
oh no, but these are the same people who play about the drag story hour. Their issue isn't. Look at you've got they hate drag queens, they hate libraries, they hate
Yeah.
books, and a lot of them hate children
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's everything that he is like. And let's be honest, like say what you want about these drag queens, but I've never heard of a drag queen that tried to give Taylor Swift tickets to one of their friends' underage children in exchange for them like taking their top off in front of them. I've never heard of a drag queen doing that, and I've never heard of a drag queen accepting a political campaign contribution from anybody that did that. But the governor did that. A whole bunch of politicians
Yeah.
out here did that. So technically, if you want to talk about who's taking money from groomers, there's only one person out here that's documented taking money from an accused or a known groomer, and that's the same guy leading this charge. So what's
Right.
that old? It's
Right.
point. You point one direction, you got three fingers pointing back.
Right.
And it raised
And
and
did
now and Trump.
Oh yeah.
This will be funny too
Yeah.
because Trump has been talking about that. This is Trump
Yeah.
has been talking about, and we're not going to say the guy's name, but as his primary season, when Republican primary season builds on, apparently there's stuff that not that I'm saying Trump is necessarily telling the truth, but fair is
Right.
fair.
I know it. I know it. I know
Let's
it.
see what the man has to say.
Yeah, and isn't it ironic that Ron DeSantis himself got married at Walt Disney World?
Oh yeah, maybe that's the issue. There's something. It's personal.
Exactly.
There's something. It's beyond politics. There's a personal thing going on. It's like this DeSantis Trump shit. you know, like
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean, Rick Scott, like the guys. I don't know what he's doing. I don't really,
Uh,
even if the point of all this is for Ron DeSantis to be the next president of the United States, I still don't see how this works. I mean, I love this primary. I mean, Nikki Haley's running. I think the best case scenario would be for Trump and DeSantis to destroy each other, and then Nikki Haley can rise up, and get the nomination. But I think she made a mistake by taking the Trump line. Like some of this stuff,
mhm.
and I feel like with this drag queen stuff and this book banning stuff, this is a line in the sand that will, I think, largely determine a lot of people's political relevancy going forward the rest of the decade. Particularly after
Yeah.
after 2024. Between now and 2028, like I feel like if you're back into DeSantis and all this anti-gay, anti-trans stuff that he's doing, like there's not going to be much for you to do once this next decade comes along, because it's all, I think it's building to a point where something's going to happen, and then everyone's just going to be like, like instead of I mean, like worst case scenario is that we get another Pulse nightclub type situation under
Right.
DeSantis's watch. Because
Right.
if it happens again while DeSantis is governor, that next shooter will be someone who is directly motivated by the words and actions of the current administration, and that'll be something.
Right.
And then let's keep it real. Orlando's got a Democratic mayor. Tampa's got a Democratic mayor. It's they should have took him out last year. Nikki Fried should have beaten DeSantis last year. I'm hopeful that she will come back around and run again in 2026 and take over as governor. She's currently the head of
Democratic
Duval.
Party. Yeah. In Florida.
The Florida Democratic Party of Florida.
Mhm.
She's really, she's fire on social media. Like follow Nikki
Oh
Fried
yeah.
on Twitter if you want
Oh yeah.
if you want smiles in your life. And it's very
Oh yeah.
the Trump style, the aggressiveness, just the blatant hatefulness. It's infected every level of politics. State
Oh yeah.
level, local level. We have an entire like generation of shitty politicians from coast to coast
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
they can't be trusted with the budget. They can't be trusted to protect us from the aliens. They can't be
No.
trusted. We can't. DeSantis and Trump. Do you want, like, what happens if Jesus is real and Jesus comes back to Earth and they say, "Take me to your leader"? You're like, "Oh well, my leader is Ron DeSantis." Like, how embarrassing would that be?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
No shit.
if Jesus
No
comes here,
shit.
if Jesus comes here, I'm taking him to see John Delaney or maybe Donna Deegan.
Donna. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and also, have as we've seen with the hate, in this country, and not only hate but fear, unfounded fear on many citizens
Yes.
that are gun
Yes.
carrying citizens. Lately, people that are
Yes.
being shot for ringing the wrong doorbell, pulling it down the wrong driveway, uh, uh,
Oh yeah.
a a
Yeah. Yeah.
a food delivery guy was shot at. Him and his wife were in the car in
Yeah.
Florida,
Yeah.
and they were
Yeah.
shot at
That's
for
right.
being at
That's
the
right.
wrong house. Luckily they didn't get hit, but they were
Yeah.
shot at for being at the wrong driveway.
Yeah. They shot a girl got shot, like a pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl.
Yep,
Like,
yep. Cheerleader,
I mean,
cheerleader got
if
shot.
they're, if
Yep.
they're shoot, yeah. Who the fuck shoots a cheerleader? Like that's like shooting a Girl Scout or something. Like America's built on cheerleaders. You don't shoot cheerleaders. You buy the cheerleader a beer and then you give them your phone number and you say, hey, you go get them team. You don't shoot them. That's
Right.
un-American.
Right.
Like this.
Right.
That's the thing about they had. I was on the radio a while back and we were talking about this because we were always talking about the gun stuff because it's Florida. And one of the callers called in and he said something about me being like a liberal, you left wingers, blah blah blah. You all hate
Yeah.
guns, all this. And I said, sir, like I am I am black. I'm a Republican. I'm from Florida. That ticks all the boxes of loving guns. I love guns as much as everybody, but it's like you can have your arsenal, but you only got two hands, right? You got two hands. So any gun,
Right.
any number of guns you have more than two, anything more than two guns, those are just guns that could be taken away from you and used against you. You know,
Yep.
it's like wealth. We all got people want to be wealthy. Hopefully, you got a few bucks in your pocket. Like if it's not in your pocket,
Right.
I mean, you still have it, but you don't really have it. Like I mean, how wealthy are you if there's a power outage and the ATM doesn't work? You know, how how
Yeah.
how wealthy are you when it's 3 a.m. And your car's broken down and your phone is turned off, and there's and you
Hmm.
you know right, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like it's kind of an equalizer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I know. But we're living in a crazy time, and it seems to be getting crazier. And I know you have to be
I hate the
going.
gun
S-
lobby.
Oh, I know the gun lobby.
Right.
Oh, they're
But
making a mess out of everything. Oh,
I feel like a lot of and again, I'm all for the Second Amendment and all that, but I feel like a
oh yeah,
lot of there's a cynicism to it. They're
yeah.
marketing. I feel like a lot of these products, and you can see by the way they're talking about in the gun media and stuff. Like a lot of these products are marketed to people, with pre-existing mental health issues. People
Hmm.
that are already triggered.
Yeah,
Literally
yeah.
triggered.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like when people like you got to ask yourself like when you go to a gun store or you're out at the gun range and you're holding that thing in your hand, what what are you thinking about? What are you visualizing in your mind when you're holding that thing in your hand or you're looking at it in the magazine or you're shooting it out on the range? You know? The people are we all thinking that we're fucking, Bruce Willis and Die Hard? Are we all like sitting there on the range fantasizing that we're the hero, you know?
I,
Like we were playing
I'm a s-
basketball on the court by yourself and you got that little 3, 2, 1 countdown in your mind when you shoot the ball. Are you like that on the gun range? Or are you you know or are you thinking about somebody that done you wrong? Or are you thinking about
right,
some fight that you're in like years ago that, oh, what if I'd had this then? It's a
right,
it's a
right.
product. I mean, the gun, it's a lot like drugs. It's one of those things that it'll make you feel great for a little while,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
and again, I'm all for people having guns and stuff, but you know,
Yeah,
I'm all for the right to bear arms, but they're just like I'm all for the right to the freedom of speech, but I feel like our one individual's rights and freedoms end at the point where they impinge on the rights and freedoms of another citizen. You know,
absolutely,
like
absolutely.
yeah, you have the right to carry guns, but if you walk into a fucking store or a place of business with a gun on you, and they say, "Hey, we're not comfortable having a stranger with a gun in here," like, yeah, fuck open. It's what you might have it tucked in your shit, tucked in your belt, whatever. If you got it out there openly, out in public, like where there's children around, where there's people around, like like no one's gonna take your gun. Like you're gonna walk down the street with like a sidearm on you, and like
Yeah,
you're not gonna get like someone coming up, like two people come up from behind you, grab your arms while another takes your gun. Like we haven't
right.
had like over, I believe something like 400 plus guns stolen just out of like parked cars just in Jacksonville
Absolutely.
last year,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
a bunch of those guns turn up in homicide. So if you're dumbass and you leave like your gun like locked in your
Hmm.
car, right? Thinking your guns, who thinks their gun is safe locked in their car? Do you know how many cars get stolen every fucking day? Some of these people
Right.
may just be stealing the car and they find the gun. So like someone steals your gun out of your car and they use it to shoot somebody else later. Like what happened to a girl in Avondale a couple of years ago, that
Right.
Coast Guard lady.
Right.
Does that victim's family then have the right to sue you for being an asshole that didn't have your guns locked up? Like, oh, you're not going to take your gun. You're going to park your car. You're not going to take your gun in here because there's someplace you can't take your gun. So you're going to leave it out there inside a car in the middle of the street, just basically for anyone who wants to take it. You know,
Right.
you probably got
Right.
some kind of fucking stupid bumper sticker on the back of your car that's a dead
Yeah.
giveaway to a potential thief that, okay, this guy's probably got something on him,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. People in Jacksonville
Oh,
complain about that all the
look at that.
time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
look at that. Like, look, you say, look at that guy's bumper sticker parked out in front of the bar. Oh, now he's going to the bar. He's got that bumper sticker. He probably didn't take his gun in the car. The gun's probably in the car. He didn't take it in the bar. It's probably in the car. Wait till it goes in the bar. Wait a few minutes. Bust the window. Take that shit out of there.
Right. Right.
Easy breezy. Like, this is
Right.
fucking Florida. And
Yeah. And it's gonna be in one of two places: under the seat or in the glove box, so they can smash and grab real
that's
quick.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, I've seen people. I've been in bars and
Mm-hmm.
seen people like, carry. I mean, it's like they'll carry it. You have to tell them, like, no, you don't take a knife into the bar. Don't take a gun into the bar. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
have to. You know,
It has to be said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
why? And, now one of the weird pieces of legislation, that we're currently in the legislative session up in
Mm-hmm.
Tallahassee. I think that's going on through the end of May, I believe, something
Yeah.
like that. But they're looking to get like no permit carry, like
Right. They are.
basically open carry, no permit, which is, I mean, I'll tell you, if they make it possible to buy guns without permits, like, I will immediately go buy a bunch of guns. That'll be the first fucking thing I do.
Right.
The only
Well.
reason I don't have a bunch of guns
Mm-hmm.
already is because I don't feel like going through all the trouble of getting a permit, because I don't,
Guns
and
are
it's-
expensive.
and,
Even a handgun. They're very expensive.
yeah.
They're very expensive.
And you watch the way those sales spike. Wait to the moment that they sign the law that lets you get guns without permits in Florida. I would want to just make a list of everybody that goes and buys a gun the next day. Make a list
Well.
of everybody that wouldn't pay the $150 for a gun permit. But then as soon as they no longer have to pay that $150 for the gun permit, they immediately go buy guns. That's your sample group for, like, the next year's mass shootings.
Right. Right. Well, let's hope it doesn't go that far, because you still have to have a permit to own the gun, but the new bill will say you won't have to get the additional permit to carry it. So open carry is a separate permit. So anybody that has a gun as of, I think it's June or July, I mean, it's going to happen. Anybody that already has a gun in their gun locker at home, they can strap it on their hip and walk around with it now without getting an additional permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd be suspicious of the type of people that would do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Not that they're bad.
The ones that do it now.
Sure.
You've seen some of those characters that carry them now with permits. There's some shady looking dudes out there.
Every time there's a mass shooting, whatever weapon is used in the mass shooting gets, the sales for that particular type of weapon spike.
Yeah. Well, and when
you'll even see gun shows that put them on sale.
Yeah. Well, the actual weapon that is used in those crimes in many states, it's not destroyed.
Yeah.
The police department actually auctions it back off into the public. So you could be buying a gun at auction that was used to kill somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sad. That's really sad. Well, Shelton, I know you got to be going, and I do too. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. If a dog bites somebody, if a dog bites somebody, they put the dog down. But if a gun is used to kill somebody, they don't destroy the gun.
Right. You would think that the gun would be destroyed or permanently locked up or what have you, but no, they auction it off.
Yeah.
And there are places that do mass gun. They destroy large numbers of guns. They completely melt them down. There's actually several people that will take guns and melt them down for you. There's a guy that makes all kinds of stuff out of the melted down guns. He makes trinkets, jewelry, whatever. Knives. He makes hammers and knives and all this other stuff out of melted down guns. Well, that's all for some other discussion. Listen, I tell you what. Let me ask you before we go, Shelton.
Yes.
We would love to have you
Yes.
back on the show again anytime you want to come on.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, you have fun with trivia tonight. I'll have fun with just sitting back with me a big old tall glass of iced tea.
Yes.
Talk to you soon.
The Long Island kind?
No. The virgin kind.
Gotcha.
No. Listen, brother, it was good seeing you. Good talking to you. And I'll get back with you real soon. Okay?
For sure. Take it easy.
All right, man. I'd like to thank all my friends, fans, and followers over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, like, share, comment, and smash the subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that bell so you get notifications whenever we have a new episode come up. And don't forget that the podcast itself, the audio version, can be streamed on all major streaming platforms. And you can find my crazy shenanigans over on TikTok. Well, guys, in my closing thoughts here, there was a lot to unpack in that episode. Had a great discussion with my good friend Shelton. We brought up a lot of good topics on the lighter side of, journalism, print media not being dead, the onset of technology making things so much better for not only his life, but for our lives as well. Not only the technology that you would think of, just internet in and of itself, but now the onset of the use of AI and chat GBT and different other AI bots. Their use as a tool, a learning tool, a useful writing tool, all kinds of things. And people are using them in a way that, helps everybody. Also, on another note, we talked quite a bit about gun control and some of the crazy stuff that's going on. And, of course, we'll be talking about that in upcoming episodes as well. In the meantime, everyone, be vigilant, be careful, stay safe, take care of yourselves and each other. Until the next time, peace.